Welcome to What a Creep, the show with Margot Donahue and Sonia Mansfield talking about creeps from the past to the present.
This is your quick guide to the biggest creeps, jerks, assholes, and losers, the best of the worst.
From two nice ladies who want the world to be a little less creepy. Welcome back to What a Creep. This is Margot Donahue, and my cohort in creepitude, as always, is the amazing Sonia Mansfield. Hey, Sonia.
Hello, my friend.
Hello, my friend. We are the podcast that talks about creeps from the past to the present. There is so much to discuss today about method acting. I can't wait.
It's going to be fun.
Dive into it. That's going to be Sonia's thing. And then I will come up with our non-creep this week. It's a celebrity non-creepy charity. Sonia doesn't even know what it is yet. You'll have to wait till the end to find out. You can find us on social media. We do have a basic Facebook page, but that's where people go to complain about our language. This is your first warning. Your only warning, really. We use salty language in this program. So if you're around children or sensitive people, maybe put your headphones on. I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah, right? Fucking deal with it.
In our Facebook group, we're much more interactive, and you have to ask to join, but it's What a Creep podcast, and we just talk about creeps there and news, pop culture news, political news, things like that. We keep it nice. It's creepy, but it's a nice place to hang out.
Yes.
We're on Twitter at CreepPod, as long as that exists, because somebody had What a Creep for 10 years and never used it on the Twitter machine.
Creep!
We're also on Threads, we're on Instagram, and we're on Blue Sky at What a Creep Podcast. Yes?
Yes.
Okay. And we have an old-timey email, whatacreeppodcast@gmail.com. If you have any suggestions for creeps or non-creeps, you can send them to any of those places. And if you would like some stickers, send us an email with your address. And wherever you are in the place of the earth, I will send you some stickers. We've had a few requests this week, Sonia. It's pretty exciting.
Ooh, nice.
So people want them stickers, and we will get them out to you.
Yes.
Sonia, do you want to talk about the website?
Yeah, go to whatacreeppodcast.com, and it's everything you ever wanted to know about our podcast, but we're afraid to ask. There are links to all of our past episodes, and in those little posts are our show notes, because we source every single thing we do. We don't want to, take all the credit. Not all the credit, just some of the credit. No, we want to give them the credit for they're doing the hard work, and we're just sharing it out. So if you're looking to do a deeper dive on any of our creepy things, it's a great place to start. There's also a link to our Substack if you want to, get our free newsletters free. And there's a link to our merch shop where you could get t-shirts and tote bags and face masks because the pandemic is still happening. And there's a link to our Patreon. You want to tell them about that, Margot?
Yes, Patreon. We put out 2 bonus episodes a month on Patreon. It's just a way to keep the show going. It helps us with the costs. Firstly, Rolling Stone itself is $100 a year. So we do pay, premium for our sources, but also just to put the show together.
People Magazine doesn't pay for itself, y'all.
And the software and everything else, hosting and things like that. We have our first 8 seasons up on that wall. We want to say thank you so much to the people who have joined us recently. It was Annie and Andrea. Thank you very much. Also, I post clips on there for what we're working on for our other podcast, Working Out, but sometimes it's stuff from this show. And those things I post for free. So you can just check us out for free on Patreon.
Yes.
But we do want to thank the people that help pay, because it really does help keep the show together.
Absolutely.
We love that. But if money is tight, we both totally get that. If you can leave us a review wherever you get your podcasts, if it's Good Pods or Spotify or iTunes. We had great reviews recently on iTunes. Amy in New Jersey, Ava Arden, and with an out in Marianne, no E. I mean, really great people who do that for us.
Thank you.
Thank you. Because it helps us find our people. It helps them feature us so we can find more people. We get even bigger and better when we stomp out more creeps. It's a win-win.
Good way of putting it.
My allergies are wicked terrible today, so I am glad that Sonia is taking over. Sonia, what is our subject today?
Okay, hold on. Let me get into character. Damn it! Okay, we are going to be talking about method acting and some directors that go too far while they're filming their movies. I'm not saying all method acting is creepy. I'm not shitting all over it. It's just, hey, you need to calm down. So, trigger warnings, sexual assault, rape, but it's all for creating amazing art. So I'm sure it's fine, right? Sources
That's
include
sarcasm, by the way.
Yes. Yes. Please note the sarcasm. Sources include The Atlantic, Harper's Bazaar, Hollywood.com, Hollywood Reporter, IndieWire, The Mary Sue, New York Times, Nikki Swift, very fun gossip site, Rolling Stone, Slash Film, Vox, and of course, Wikipedia. Margot, do you know what method acting is?
I think, from what I understand, is you have to act like that character 24/7, and everybody has to call you by the character's name. You can never break character.
That is kind of method acting to the extreme, yeah. So the director, actor, acting coach Lee Strasberg was the father, quote unquote, of method acting. And this is exactly how it's described in books and on websites. It's method acting encourages the actor to have a connection between their own real life experiences as humans and that of their characters. So the artist attempts to fully embody that character inside and out. So method acting became all the rage with James Dean and Marlon Brando, and we're going to talk about him in a little bit. The last few decades, it's when you think of Robert De Niro and Raging Bull, he put on a bunch of weight, he lost a bunch of weight, he studied boxing, all this stuff, and then he won an Oscar. And then later, all these people are like, I want an Oscar. So you get your Philip Seymour Hoffmans, your Christian Bales, Leonardo DiCaprio, gaining weight, losing weight, never breaking character, taking on accents, hobbies that impact their personal life, and this kind of underpinning strategy or belief that to create great art you must suffer. I would say probably the most famous method actor right now is Daniel Day-Lewis. Just a couple random stories about Daniel Day-Lewis.
Please. By the way, I'm talk about him.
Yeah.
He's not a creep, right?
Yeah, no. And just because you're method acting doesn't mean you're creepy. I'm just trying to give you a couple of examples of maybe doing it right or taking it too far, but it only impacts you, so you do you. So Daniel Day-Lewis, he does this movie In the Name of the Father. He lost 50 pounds. He stayed in solitary confinement for 3 days without water, and then had cold water thrown on him by the crew over and over. He did the movie The Last of the Mohicans, a movie I love, where he spent a month in the woods learning to hunt and skin animals and fight. And, he did My Left Foot, where he played a man with cerebral palsy, and he pretended off screen that he had cerebral palsy, and he made the crew feed him and carry him around and
take him to the bathroom.
Yeah. He nearly died of pneumonia on the set of Gangs of New York because he refused to wear anything but the appropriate attire for the era. He wouldn't even take modern medicine, and
that's just stupid. I'm sorry.
And I'm yeah, well, and he's not hurting anyone other than himself, I guess. So, go nuts. But then you have people like Brian Cox, who starred in Succession, where he just says, I don't hold a lot of that American shit. Having a religious experience every time you play a part, it's crap. Again, not saying it makes you creep. Whatever gets you to your great performance, but you don't get to use it as an excuse to hurt people or create volatile working environments for other people. So if you're Jeremy Strong, who was also in Succession, by the way, which is why I think Brian Cox was talking about this. He did the trial of the Chicago 7, and he asked them to really spray him with tear gas. Dude,
did they
knock
do
yourself.
it?
I think they did.
Oh God.
I'm
it's a pepper spray.
Yeah, dude, you knock yourself out. You want to get sprayed because you don't want to bother acting and you want to really do it. That's fine. You do you. People like Meryl Streep do, some method stuff. She said she used it in The Devil Wears Prada, and she really sequestered herself from the cast. She didn't bother anyone, but she said she got really depressed. She had really bad FOMO. She kept the accent when she did the Iron Lady, mainly because she said if she stopped using it, she might lose it.
Yeah, she's famous for that.
But she wasn't a bitch about it. Usually
supposedly she greets people on a film set and lets them know ahead of time. Yes. I'm going to be in character. So if I act mean to you, it's because my character's mean to you. So please don't take it personally. Like this is how I do my work.
Yes. And
which is what a proper adult does.
Yes. And when we hear of people who are using method acting in the media nowadays, it's usually, and I don't want to stereotype, not all male actors, but it's a lot of male actors, and they use it as an excuse to be an awful, miserable prick to people. And it's less about acting, and it's more about making people react to them. And you never see like, hey, I played a really wonderful, delightful human who's super kind, and I decided to stay in character and act that way all the time. Like, that's not a thing.
You never hear that.
But then, and it, again,
I was a mensch all the time.
Yes, hashtag not all male actors. But Marilyn Monroe, Ellen Bernstein, Jane Fonda, Tilda Swinton, Marissa Tomei, Scarlett Johansson, they've all studied this method acting technique, and they're not known for these kind of stunts. And honestly, they would be considered a liability, like a high maintenance diva, right?
Right.
Like Betty Davis is a good example of someone who did stuff like this and pushed, and she got a lot of shit for it.
She was unemployable for a while.
Yes. Natalie, the reason I even wanted to do this was because it had kind of come up in the news recently. And Natalie Portman recently did an interview, and she said that she's like, I've gotten very into roles, but I think it's honestly a luxury that women can't afford. I don't think that children or partners would be very understanding if I made everyone call me Jackie Kennedy all the time.
Right.
I'm like, so I've decided I put a list together of a few actors who took their method acting too far, and some directors who, instead of letting their actors just act, decided to push them into reacting, which again is not what you hired them for. So we'll start with Marlon Brando, and we've already done a whole episode on Marlon Brando, so I'm not going to go like too deep, but he is the one who kind of put method acting on the map for people. He plays Stanley Kowalski in Streetcar Named Desire in 1951, and people were like, who's that?
Right. He changed everything.
Because before that, if you watch a lot of older movies, like a lot of movies where the acting was like a little bit more mannered, is the word I wrote here, mannered, and very stylized and very, like a play, right? And he felt very loose and messy and unpredictable, and a lot of people picked up that mantle from him after he started doing that. But I'm going to talk about when he did 1971's The Last Tango in Paris, directed by Bernardo Bertolucci. In the movie, Brando's character Paul is like, he rapes this this other character, Jean or Jeannie. Does she go by Jeannie? I haven't seen the movie.
I haven't in a long time.
But it's the actress Maria Schneider. And he uses like a stick of butter as a lubricant. It's really a gruesome scene. It's why I don't even want to watch the movie. But this idea was Brando's. They didn't tell Schneider about it until like right before they started filming. It wasn't in the original script. And they told her like right before filming. And I want to point out that he was 48 at this time. The director was in his early 30s, and she was 19. Yeah. Like, she was not an experienced actress at this point. She had no idea that she wasn't required to film things that weren't in the script. She could just be like, no, thanks. But she doesn't know that. And the scene is intended to be violent and disturbing. And instead of letting her like act, which is again what she's hired for, they decide to make her really feel violated and make it real. And she said, I was so angry. I felt humiliated. And to be honest, I felt a little raped, both by Marlon and by Bertolucci. And the director acknowledged, like, he sprung that on her at the last minute because he wanted her to be humiliated and be angry, and he wanted it to be real.
And there's people don't understand, like, there's a whole crew around.
Yes.
And, and they all show up for the sex scenes or where they think somebody's going to be naked. It's, a clothes set is not a thing you can count on. And like you said, she's a kid and she doesn't know better. And they're surprising her with it.
Yes.
And he was a god in acting. Like, it was just after Godfather, right?
Yes. And like Bertolucci, like he's done he did interviews for years where he said, like, it was necessary to humiliate her to make his film. And to me, I just wrote in my notes, like, that's a bullshit thing to say.
Mm-hmm.
You don't need to hurt and humiliate people to make art. Maybe you're not a very good artist.
It's the same thing with comedians who say, well, if half the audience isn't completely like dumbstruck and upset by what I said, I didn't do my job. I'm like, no, your job's to be funny.
Yeah. But there's a delightful interview with Paul F. Tompkins.
Yes, I'm just thinking of that.
Yes, where he breaks down that stuff. And I was like, he's so smart and everybody should check it out. So let's talk about Dustin. Yeah, let's talk about Dustin Hoffman, who, by the way, is a creep for other reasons. He's had numerous sexual assault allegations made against him. But he's also like one of method acting's biggest fans. And there's a very famous story about in 1976, he was doing The Marathon Man with Laurence Olivier. And he's like super into character. He's like starving himself for days. He hadn't slept for 72 hours because he wanted to like achieve this like emotion that he needed. And Olivier said to him, my dear boy, why don't you just try acting? So in 2018, Meryl Streep does an interview with the New York Times, and she tells everybody how Dustin Hoffman really overstepped the boundaries on Kramer versus Kramer. She said that he slapped her like right before they started filming to make her upset. He yelled at her. He threw a wine glass at her. And Hoffman believed that the recent death of Streep's, he used the boyfriend. Streep's boyfriend at the time was actor John Cazale, I should say right before this, because he had passed away.
Mm-hmm.
And he used that as a way to like, he would taunt her about him passing away. She said that she would like whisper his name in her ear to like upset her. And this is why, first of all, she's Meryl fucking Streep. She doesn't need you to do those things, Dustin Hoffman. Like,
that's your insecurity.
Yeah. How highly does he think of himself? You're not even the director, asshole. Like, and he's doing that shit to her, and how dare him?
Mm-hmm.
Like, first of all, you don't hit people. Fuck you. And to like take something as awful and as heartbreaking as that and like throw that shit in her face without her consent, by the way. She doesn't ask for these things.
Right. They didn't discuss this.
Yes. And she also said, she told Time magazine that Hoffman also once groped her when she was auditioning for a play that he was directing, and that she thought he was an obnoxious pig. Fuck Dustin Hoffman.
Yeah, there's a story about him that he played Willie Loman on Broadway, and the woman who plays his mistress, when they were off set, there was like 2 or 3 minutes they had to be alone and then go back into the scene, and then he did some really horrible shit to her. Ugh, fuck this guy.
Again, like just because you're making art doesn't give you license to be a fucking prick.
Mm-hmm.
It just doesn't.
And it's breaking the law, by the way. It's against the law to do that to people.
Yes. On Sean Penn, here's another one.
Yeah.
So John Leguizamo was in a movie with Sean Penn called Casualties of War. It's a laugh riot.
Brian De Palma?
Yes, it's a fucked up movie about like the Vietnam War and this like group of army squad
soldiers.
Like kidnap. Yeah, they kidnap a girl, a young girl, and they like repeatedly like gang rape her. And there's a scene where like John Leguizamo's character's like, I'm not doing that. And Sean Penn refuses to like do the like stage smacking and like really slaps him. And he did it. This was like one of John Leguizamo's first movies. He said that he was slapped. Like they did 13 different takes.
Yeah.
Or Sean Penn hit him. And he says, like, he's all, that scene has scarred me for life. He said, I twitch every time I see Sean. And I'm like, that's so fucked up. Like, you don't need to hit people.
No, but you know, when he did, what's the high school movie I'm thinking of?
Oh, Fast Times at Ridgemont High.
Fast Times at Ridgemont High.
Yeah.
He stayed in character the whole time.
Yeah.
And when he saw himself breaking character, like he was talking to Phoebe Cates and Jennifer Jason Leigh.
Yeah.
And they made him laugh, and he started, and then all of a sudden he realized he broke character, and he was smoking a cigarette, and he put the cigarette out in his hand. Because that, to him, that was, I know. Didn't have to do that in the movie. They're just hanging out, talking. I know, it's so pretentious.
By the way, we could do a spin-off cast that's called What a Douche. And like, that'd be a great story for that. Maybe we should do some special episodes just called What a Douche.
The douchebag edition.
Yeah, exactly. That would be really fun.
The douchebag diaries.
Oh, see?
Hey-o.
All of it. It's so good. It's so good. Another reason I wanted to do this episode was because Vincent Gallo had come up recently. So the Screen Actors Guild is actually doing an investigation into the casting process for his most recent movie. It's called The Policeman, and it's about the Golden State Killer. It also has James Franco in it, which I was like, red flag. And I was like, I really want to watch a Golden State Killer movie. Could they make it with some other people that aren't gross creeps? Like maybe David Fincher could do like a Zodiac thing about the Golden State Killer with some other people.
Yeah.
That would be amazing. I would love to watch that. I don't want to watch this. So 3 different actresses who have not shared their names because for obvious reasons, they want to
scared shitless.
Yes. Said that during the audition process, Gallo was a super creep. That one of the actresses, he said he talked about his torture porn fantasies with her. By the way, again, he's not the director of this movie, and he's not the writer of this. He's just an actor
or the
in this
producer,
movie.
right?
Yes. He like shared his torture porn fantasies. He told her that the film would would not be very similar to what the script is right this second. And he said, in order to truly tell the story in an accurate way, he needed actresses who were willing to have their minds and bodies be 100% dominated by him from the moment they arrive on set. Here's some other things he said. I may ask you to get nude at any time, and I need an actress who's going to do it because that's what the victim would have done to stay alive.
Sleaze.
He said, if you're going to be offended by what I ask you, I don't want any of your personal feminist values. You don't want to do this. You don't think it's fair. But you know what? The victim didn't have a choice, and neither will you as the actress.
Oh, my God.
Yes. And then they said, of course, we can't actually have you give me head on screen. But the point is, that I want someone who will not stop production to call their agent or complain because they're offended.
Does he still have the job?
They filmed this movie.
It's already been filmed?
Yes. Oh. These are all actresses. There's 3 different actresses. They all tell the same story. He said that like all these, they had to give blanket consent to anything he might do. Get over your fucking self. What an asshole.
I'm nauseous by that. You don't actually stab people or shoot people.
Yeah.
Right? So why would rape be any different?
So self-important. Like,
yes.
And also, how is that acting?
It's not.
It's not. It's about controlling these women. It's so shitty. I'm like, fuck this guy. And honestly, he's been on my fucking list for a long time because there was a whole thing about when they did the Brown Bunny, which I haven't even seen. Roger Ebert famously fucking hated this movie and went off on it. And it's one of those movies that's written and directed by Vincent Gallo. I didn't see Buffalo 66 with him, with
What year was
Christina
that?
Ricci.
Yeah.
That was in the 90s. People really liked it. And that's how the Brown Bunny became the thing. And it's like him and like Chloe Sevigny. Is that how you pronounce it? Yeah. And there's unsimulated sex in that where she gives him a blowjob, and there's a lot of speculation about whether or not she was like pressured into that situation.
She was very young.
She was young, yeah. And it just, what a fucking creep.
I did some work on one of his early movies, very low level PR, but the word got out quickly. Like the young girl, like I was young then, that not to leave them around him because he was just say and do really horrible shit.
Yeah,
and everybody knew, like the president of the company, everybody, all the agents and publicists, like everybody fucking knew.
No, and they just let that shit slide. And we think like after Me Too, we're not doing this anymore, right?
Right, exactly.
But here we are. Like this movie was filming like in December or something. So it's still fucking happening. And by the way, Vincent, he's not fucking worth it.
No.
That dude's not even a huge fucking star. Like
he was like an indie darling for a couple of weeks, and everyone lost their shit. Really, like he was like the next Quentin Tarantino or something.
Yeah, like again, who the fuck cares what Vincent Gallo wants? Like he's not even Joaquin Phoenix. Like he's not worth this kind of shit. By the way, no actor's worth that kind of shit. Fuck that. What a fucking creep. We could do probably a whole episode on him. Another one that was recently in the news is Jonathan Majors, who starred in he starred in a couple different movies.
Marvel,
but he's in some of the Marvel movies. And there's a whole thing about like him like allegedly assaulting and strangling and harassing like his girlfriend at the time. And he was recently found guilty of that. But there was a whole story in Rolling Stone about he did a movie called Devotion. It's about like the U.S. Navy's first black aviator. And I guess on that set, he was particularly shitty to people. He sometimes acted very violent. He was super disrespectful. People were told to stay away from him because they were going to get hurt. And he didn't, it was all like his method acting. And, you know, they issued a statement that was like, that's not true. Like everybody knows that, like, you know, he was just doing his method acting and that nobody was actually really afraid. But apparently crew members were really afraid. Let's talk about Jared Leto.
Ugh.
That's another one.
I'm gonna yak during this show.
Yeah. Jared Leto is another one who is an alleged creep for other reasons. He has been accused multiple times of predatory behavior of underage girls, of fans of his band, things like that. A lot of that hasn't been concretely proved. Hence, we haven't done a full episode on Jared Leto, but it's out there. It's linked to in the show notes. But he also does a lot of method acting. That's his thing. And, you know, like he did Dallas Buyers Club and he stayed in character the whole time. Not unusual. Actors do that all the time. Lost a bunch of weight for roles. Not unusual. But in 2016, he's playing the Joker in Suicide Squad.
Oh, yes.
Okay, by the way, I don't know when the Joker became like the new fucking Hamlet, but like every actor wants to play the Joker and they want to take that shit too far. I don't understand it. I would watch Jack Nicholson's Joker all day long. Although Heath Ledger's amazing in it, but y'all,
he's my Joker.
Hamlet. Whatever. Yeah. So Jared Leto's doing his method acting thing for the Joker and Suicide Squad, a movie that didn't even do well. And it's not fucking worth it. But he sent the whole cast a dead pig. He delivered Margot Robbie a rat that was alive, luckily. And apparently she kept it because she's a delight. He said he sent Will Smith an envelope full of bullets. And apparently he refused to speak to any of his co-stars during filming, which honestly they were probably fine with.
Yeah, fine.
He's a fucking drag.
He's a pretentious shithead. Like, let him hang out in his trailer.
Yeah.
And make up his laugh.
Yeah, they also he also sent people anal beads, used condoms, and sticky Playboy magazines.
Oh no.
It's so gross. I should note, like, Heath Ledger also took his role very seriously, and apparently he spent like months at a time in his apartment alone, like writing in a journal and the character. He's very amazing in that movie. I'm sure it fucked with his mental health, though.
Yeah.
You know, when Jared Leto played Morbius, another movie that isn't fucking worth all the hubbub. He tried to stay in character on the set. He demanded everyone call him Morbius. He used crutches to get around. He would stay in character, like even like when he went to the bathroom, and he would limp around on his crutches. It took him like 45 minutes to get to the bathroom and back. Eventually, like, crew members started like pushing him around in a wheelchair so that he could go to the bathroom faster. You know, it's just like pretentious bullshit that like makes everybody's job a little harder. You know, I'm like, come on, man. Also, did anyone see Morbius?
No, and it's like those days are long on a set. They're very, very long. And the actors are not the ones that are there first. But they do get to leave first. And just to make extra work for everybody is just unconscionable to me.
Yeah. And they make so much money, and like all the crew make like minimum wage, and they're standing around while he's like, I have to pretend I'm like Morbius, and it's like, so I want to talk a little bit about directors who take it too far. So let's talk about Stanley Kubrick, who was notoriously shitty to Shelley Duvall on the set of The Shining, a movie which scares the shit out of me.
It works.
He kept her isolated from the cast and the crew. He made her wait around for extensive periods of time before doing her scenes to really throw her off. He told the crew not to sympathize with her at all. He never complimented her work. He criticized every choice, every impulse she had. At one point, he encouraged the crew not to engage with her and to disregard any needs that she expressed.
And she's not the villain in that fucking story. Like, what is the point of that?
Yeah, he wanted her to feel like super isolated. Again, why don't you let her act?
Yeah, she'd done acting before. She was pretty good at it.
Yeah. She ended up having multiple panic attacks on the set. And there's documentaries where they filmed and you could see it happening. And if you've ever had a panic attack, they're fucking terrible. And you think you're going to die. It's awful. My heart breaks for her. Like,
and usually it's a lot of men on a set. There's not a lot of women. So there's nobody to advocate for you.
Yes.
And Jack Nicholson's doing his own thing. He's got to,
Totally. Yeah. Like, he's like breaking down doors, like, here's Johnny, and like doing, and Kubrick's like, this is the best thing I've ever seen in the whole world. And like, he has nothing. He just isolates her, treats her like shit, all for art, quote unquote. It's like, whatever, douchebag. Again, what a douche. We already did an entire episode on Alfred Hitchcock that Margot did. It's so good. So we don't need to go into too much of that, but I did want to talk about, like, Tippi Hedren has stated like multiple times that
poor Tippi.
He was emotionally and sexually abusive towards her while watching while working on The Birds, a movie I just watched recently, and I had forgot how weird that movie is until the birds show up. It's such a bizarre.
You're always on
movie.
edge because you're not quite sure what this movie is about, and then the birds show up. It's great.
Yeah.
Obviously, he's great. Those are great movies.
Hot take, everybody.
Margot and Sonia like the birds.
Yeah, it's a really good movie, and she's really great in it. But it's a very strange movie.
But they threw real birds at her to attack her. Yes.
Yes. So there's a scene where she's like goes upstairs and she goes into a room and it's filled with birds. Now she was told that there was going to be these mechanical birds that they were going to use for it, and instead, for days, she found out that they were like there was a mix of mechanical and live birds, and they were throwing aggressive live birds at her for days. And at one point, like a bird pecked her on the cheek. It was near her eye. She had a mental breakdown. A physician ordered a week of rest, and Hitchcock was still like, fuck that, and tried to overrule it. Like, it was bananas.
Because she turned him down sexually, by the way.
Yes. Please go back and listen to that episode. Mm-hmm. Margot did such a good job on that. Let's talk about Quentin Tarantino.
Woohoo! But he's a genius, Sonia.
But he's a genius. We could also, this would be a great one for what a douche. So there's the time that Quentin Tarantino bullied Kill Bill star Uma Thurman into like driving a car for a stunt that resulted in permanent injuries to her neck and knees. She also got a concussion from this, all for some shot that a stunt person could have done, by the way, and not hurt themselves. He also decided that he was the only one who could do some of the scenes with her. So like that's him like spitting on her face, or there's like a scene where she's being choked with a chain. He's the one choking her.
Oh my God, that's so fucked up.
Like, and he did the same thing in Inglourious Bastards.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
just gonna say,
like he's the one choking Diane Kruger. And you know, he's just like, I'm the only one I trusted to do it. I don't know. It seems a little sus to me. I'm like, why are you the one that needs to spit on people? Why are you the one that needs to choke your lead actress? It feels a little weird. He also put a lot of pressure on her neck, by the way. Like, it wasn't.
Yeah. Didn't Diane Kruger pass out for real?
I didn't see that, but it wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah, I think she did.
You know, and he's like, well, it's because I wanted it to. I'm the only one that could do it. Yeah, I wanted it to look real. I just think that shit.
Real, okay, I just wanted it to look real. I'm doing my Norm Macdonald doing Quentin Tarantino.
Yes, it's not. It seems a little sus to me. That, you know, red flag. I also think it's weird that he has a foot fetish, that he puts close-ups of feet in all of his movies. Again, like I watched a lot of Quentin Tarantino movies over the past 2 years with my dad. We just hang out and watch Quentin Tarantino movies, and he just randomly was up like, "What's up with the feet?" And I was like, "You don't know?"
He admits that. I mean, I'm sort of like, let people have their kink. I mean,
I guess, but I'm also like,
but the choking of women is something.
Yeah. So here's a couple like borderline creepy things that I found in my research. Actor Aaron Eckhart did a movie called Rabbit Hole, where like him and Nicole Kidman are like the parents of a child that dies. So he attended a support group for people who lost their children and faked losing a child.
Ew, that's fucked up.
I think that's fucked up.
Can you not imagine to be a person in that position?
Yeah.
Like, seriously, you have to infiltrate a meeting? Like, what do empaths do? What do normal humans do when tragedy happens?
Exactly. Use your imagination, dude.
Yeah.
It's really fucked up. And by the way, like, Nicole Kidman. Yes. Max is very upset about this. Nicole Kidman got all the praise in that movie, by the way. So his work was for nothing. Nicolas Cage in the 80s movie Vampire's Kiss actually ate a live cockroach. I'm
actually all for that.
I'm like, you do you. Like, they were like, you could have this fake one. And he's all, no, that's cool. I'm gonna eat the real one. I'm not saying he's a creep for that. I just thought it was kind of funny. Austin Butler stayed away from his family for 3 years while he was preparing for Elvis. Again, not necessarily creepy, but I was like, poor family. Like,
did he win he won a Golden Globe, I think. Maybe.
He won the Golden Globe, and he had the accent and the voice
Yeah,
for a while
yeah,
afterwards.
yeah.
He couldn't get rid of it. Yeah. So again, not creepy, just like the South Korean actor named Choi Min-sik. Did you ever see Old Boy?
No.
It's actually on my list to watch because it's the same director as Parasite, and I'm kind of interested. But while filming, so in the movie, the character he's portraying is like kidnapped and like held for like 15 years, and then he's released. The actor actually used a hot wire to burn his flesh for every year his character was imprisoned, and he actually ate an entire living octopus in one take.
I'm not even, I can't fathom any of that. I'm just going to stare at you.
Yeah, that's, first of all,
Yuck.
I don't think we should eat octopus. They're really smart. Don't do that. Second, gross. And this is the last one. And again, borderline creepy. Actor Jamie Dornan, like most people know him from like 50 Shades of Grey. He did.
Also in, what am I thinking of?
Oh, Barb and Star.
Yes, Vista Del Mar.
And he's so funny in it.
Funny
like,
as hell.
What a revelation in that movie. He's so funny. It's like not fair when people are like obscenely good looking and like really funny, and it's really pisses me off. But anyway, he played like this really gross like serial killer in The Fall with Gillian Anderson. I've never seen The Fall, and I was like, I need to put this shit on my list.
I have seen it. It's good.
So while preparing for the role, he actually followed a woman around London without her knowledge.
Remember that?
Yeah, but he's like, I kept my distance.
Research.
Yeah, but then he says, I'm not proud of myself.
Okay,
like,
that's the way to handle it. Yeah.
Yeah, he's like, I don't like that I did that. So I will be curious. I have a feeling a lot of our listeners have like a lot of other random stories they've heard about method acting that goes wrong or goes too far. Please, y'all, go to the Facebook group and share them because I want to hear them all. I could have made this 10 hours long.
Absolutely.
There's a million stories of like creepy stuff. There's a million stories of people just being ridiculous. And that would be fun too. Maybe we should do that for bonus. Maybe I'll find some more of the
that sounds good.
Some of the funnier stories and share them in the bonus episode. But that is our creep method acting and directing that goes too far.
Good job, Sonia.
Thank you. Thank you.
I was thinking also of William Friedkin, who passed away this past year. And on the set of The Exorcist, he would shoot off a gun to make the actors flinch. And the actors were furious. They're like, I can flinch convincingly. You don't.
Dude, it's pretty bananas what like people will do. Like Christian Bale in what he did that movie, The Machinist.
Right.
That dude's a skeleton. He's a skeleton in that movie. Or Adrian Brody in The Pianist. Like,
yeah, or Oppenheimer.
They go all out. And again, if you're not hurting anyone, I really don't care.
But it's but you know, it should also be noted that it's very, very tough on your heart to gain and lose that much weight at a time. Yeah. And if you do it over and over again, you're going to screw up your metabolism. Yeah. And once again, it just puts a lot of stress on the heart. So don't, just because an actor says, oh, I dropped 30 pounds in a month for this part, like they're also, hopefully they're monitored by their people.
I'm sure they are, right?
Right. But it's not healthy. I mean, unfortunately, Lisa Marie Presley passed away due to like multiple surgeries and things like that, like crash diets and things like that.
Yeah.
Judy Garland, actually, that's what killed her, was all the crash dieting that she did. So don't, just because Robert De Niro did in 1980 doesn't mean.
I think there's a way to do things like this in a healthy way and monitor yourself.
It's like, is it Something in the Snow? It's a Netflix movie that just came out. It was about the Andes plane crash.
Oh, yeah.
Rugby.
Yeah.
And they actually make the actors did have to lose a lot of weight because they're starving, at a high altitude. But they did use CGI effects to make them look smaller, more gaunt. And it's very believable. Like, you don't need to kill yourself.
Yeah.
To play a rugby player that had to resort to cannibalism. Like, it's,
Yeah, but also just The ultimate lesson here is like, if you have to hurt and humiliate people
right
for your art, you're fucking doing it wrong. Like, I'm sorry, Last Tango in Paris is not worth that. Or not. Yeah, that's the movie, Last Tango in Paris.
I think it's pretentious crap anyway.
It's not fucking worth it. Mm-mm. It's not worth what he did. Like, I don't care. You could be like, it's a masterpiece. Great, but it's not worth that. It's not worth harming another human.
But Maria's dignity is not worth it to people. Yeah. She's just a second-ass player compared to the brilliant men. And she should just be grateful she had an opportunity. And it's super fucked up.
Yeah. All the shit that Dustin Hoffman did to Meryl Streep in Kramer versus Kramer is not fucking worth it for Kramer versus Kramer. And also, she's Meryl fucking Streep. Keep your hands to yourself.
He was intimidated because she's super tall.
Yeah.
She's beautiful. And she's better at it than he is, like, quite frankly.
Yes.
So
and to be like fucking Vincent Gallo, please.
He's so gross, Sonia. Trust me.
Ugh. So gross. Anyway, let's talk about something not creepy.
So I thought about. I knew you were going to bring up Brando, because you got to bring up Brando.
You gotta.
Yes. So I wanted to go. Oops, hold on a second. Reload. Okay. All right. It made me think of a story that gets passed around on Twitter or TikTok every once in a while, and it's Christopher Reeve, and he's talking about in the early '80s. He was on David Letterman's show, and Letterman was like, "What was it like to work with Marlon Brando? Oh my god!" And Christopher Reeve was like, "He was a pain in the ass, and he was rude and disrespectful. He got $1 million to work 10 minutes, and he wasted everybody's time. He couldn't bother to learn his parts. He acted like it was the method, but it's just because he was ill prepared."
Right.
And here he was, like, God, Marlon Brando, still considered a god at this point, and he was like, "No, I don't think it's okay. I think it's unprofessional, and I don't like it. I don't cotton to that," said Christopher Reeve.
Yeah.
He was our first Superman in the movies.
Yes.
Maybe there was one before. But anyway, he's my Superman. Unfortunately, as his friend said, Chris was in an accident in 95. He was riding his horse, 95. And he fell, hit his head, and he became paralyzed from the neck down. Yeah. And his wife, Dana, was the person who supported him. And this was somebody who was like 6'4", super fit. He played Superman, for Christ's sakes. Like, this guy was the embodiment of physical beauty and masculinity and virility.
So handsome.
Ridiculously handsome. Ridiculously smart.
Yes.
Charming. He was a big fan of the theater. He was a big promoter of it. He was really good to actors, especially new actors, like making them feel comfortable. So when he was diagnosed, his whole thing is that he did want to walk again. And then for him, after all, I was like, I hope I could just sit up on my own again. I mean, this is just, he was really... So there's a charity, and it's the Christopher Reeve charity. And it's called the Reeve Foundation. It's based on him and his wife, Dana, who unfortunately passed away in March 2006 to lung cancer. Fuck cancer. But their mission is they are dedicated to curing spinal cord injury by advancing innovative research and improving quality of life for individuals and families impacted by paralysis. It's one of those charities, you can look up how they're rated. It has an A rating because they actually use the money for, so here's just some of the things they do. They have information specialists that are trained to help people who are newly paralyzed and their family members, because good luck having an insurance company talk you through this.
Healthcare sucks in this country.
It's ridiculously bad, and they have it in over 170 languages. So there's somebody there that can, wherever you are.
Okay.
There's peer and family support that they provide for people. There's a Quality Life Grants program. They've awarded over 3,600 grants, totaling $37 million in financial support to fellow nonprofits for programs and projects that foster community engagement and involvement while promoting health and wellness. There's the Military and Veterans Program that is unique, for members of the service members. And they're designed to just look for ways for a cure. They want to, and there's been amazing strides since he was hurt. It's to the point that we have Invictus games. Like we have people who have been disabled and can come back, but spinal injuries, there's still things we don't know.
Right.
And affects a lot. And as somebody who, fell and then had a lot of issues, like you have no idea what life has in for you or for somebody you love.
Yeah.
And it's very stressful, but he's someone who didn't take the pity train with it. And he could have just, and nobody would have blamed him.
Right.
But he wanted to take what happened to him and be an inspiration to somebody else. So it's the Christopher Reeve, or it's the Reeve Foundation. They work with the National Paralysis Resource Center. And that's our Not Creep this week. It's a not creepy person, but it's also a charity that you can go to. And it's ChristopherReeve.org. And you can find out.
That's an amazing choice, my friend. Good job.
I just wanted to take it to the opposite.
Yes.
Of, and anybody who will just openly say, no, Brando was a shithead. I applaud. I think it takes some guts.
I appreciate him.
Yes.
I know he kept directing even after his accident. And
he did.
I feel like he made one of the first mainstream movies about AIDS, if I remember correctly.
He might have.
In the Gloaming or something like that.
He was also in a remake of Rear Window, which is kind of brilliant.
Right.
With Daryl Hannah.
Yes.
He tried to do the best he could.
Yes.
He and Robin Williams were roommates in college at Yale. And when he woke up from the accident, Robin Williams dressed as a doctor. And he wakes up and Robin Williams goofing all over the place and trying to cheer him up. But they were very close friends and they stuck together. So he was a good person. I just,
Yeah.
And shitty things can happen to good people.
I know. It's not fair.
It's not fair. Life isn't fair. But there are resources, and that's what they were creating that for. Because you don't expect something like this to happen. It's a pretty big shock. So, anyway.
Good pick.
Thank you. We want to thank the person, by the way, that wrote the Medium article about us.
Oh, yes. Hold on.
We'll post it in our Facebook group.
Frank Raisa Choppy?
Sure.
Sorry, everyone. I stink at this. But he published this in July. I just now saw it. So thank you for that. And I'll share it in the group.
Thank you. Yeah, we'll share that. But thank you so much. Yeah. If you like our show, don't feel feel free
don't be shy.
Don't be shy about it. Y'all got a blog and you want to write about us? If you like the sound of our voices, and if you've made it this far, you do. Admit it. You can't lie. Come on. We are the co-hosts of a show called Dorking Out, where we dork out about movies. Sonia, what are we going to be dorking out about next?
We are talking about Beautiful Girls, which stars Timothy Hutton and a 13-year-old Natalie Portman. This one's going to be problematic as fuck.
You're going to hear Ragey Margot and Ragey Sonia. Yes, because and at the time, it was it's a height of Miramax ideas of rom-coms and independent films.
Yep.
Super white.
Can't wait.
Yeah. So we're going to be talking about that. You could follow us all those places I mentioned at the top of the show for your suggestions. We love it when you use the Annie Potts GIF. We got one from Ghostbusters, or you could just be clever on your own. Yeah. Our email, once again, is whatacreeppodcast@gmail.com. In the meantime, everyone,
my friend, where can they find you on the internet?
Right, sorry. You could find me at Brooklyn Margot for most social media things. Brooklyn Fit Chick is my site, and Brooklyn Fit Chick is where I am on TikTok and the Twitters. Sonia, where can they find you?
You can find me at thesoniashow.com and The Sonia Show on all of the channels. The TikTok, where I'm posting mainly dorking out related content. Mm-hmm. We have an episode out about Saltburn right now, and I posted some stuff about Saltburn. People seem to really like that. But you can also find me on Blue Sky and Twitter and Threads and Instagram and all the things.
Well, everybody, stay safe, be good, be kind. Don't be a creep.
Be a creep. Thank you for listening to us talk about creeps. You can follow us at What a Creep Podcast on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.
But don't follow us too closely.
You can email us your creepy stories at whatacreeppodcast@gmail.com.
But please keep your dick pics to yourself.